Heaven forbid that I become a YouTuber who makes transgender content. I just wanted to join YouTube to talk about Phantom of the Opera back in 2020.
This wonderful relationship that has nothing to do with how attractive nobody cares about. So read it! Just how small you are.
But what we should be, what the American goal is. Hello ladies and gentlemen, it is currently almost 7 on a Saturday. And I am filming back in the original place I started because, I actually really like this setting. When editing my videos, I would much rather look at this pretty cool little playhouse than my stupid garage. So this video is going to be a very touchy subject and could get me ignored, which, either is fine. I just don't want to get taken off YouTube. As of right now, early April 2022, a YouTuber I discovered a few months ago recently did get taken off YouTube. Another YouTuber I found this year was actually taken off YouTube 2 years ago, and they're both deplatformed for going against community guidelines. Their specific fault was talking about trans people.
Too much.
And they were not on the side of trans people. One YouTuber was talking about gay issues and was a little bit skeptical of the trans community, and the other YouTuber was making content exposing the horrors of the medical side of being a transgender child or adult. What they were doing a lot of was repeatedly misgendering transgender people that they talked about. But is this truly a human rights violation? I can think of myself growing up during a time in elementary school where trans people and particular pronouns were not a big deal. It wasn't that uncommon for a substitute teacher to maybe notice a girl with short hair and accidentally think she's a boy. Now she'd get corrected pretty quickly. It would not be considered a human rights violation, and it would be mostly laughed off as a joke. So misgendering as a concept has never been seen as a human rights violation. Now, the only difference here is that the misgendering of transgender individuals who want to be seen as one way but were born as something else continue to get gendered as the sex they were assigned at birth instead of the sex they preferred to be. And that is what's considered a human rights violation. Now let me read to you the YouTube community guidelines because, at this point, do we even know what it is?
How YouTube works.
So YouTube policies and guidelines. Our community guidelines define what we do and don't allow on YouTube. They exist so that we can protect the community from things such as harmful content, harassment, and spam. They apply to everyone. All types of content on YouTube, such as videos, comments, links, and thumbnails.
Come on, what YouTuber hasn't posted a very uncomfortable looking facial expression from a YouTuber that he's responding to?
I could argue that one person who was deplatformed was kind of spamming a particular individual and didn't seem to know when to shut up. Okay, guidelines and policies. We want you to have the best possible experience while you're using YouTube, so our products help you find—
Wait, what?
How about community guidelines? So they include spam and deceptive practices, fake engagement.
What does that mean?
Does it mean pretending to know or interact with somebody who you don't know or interact with? External links, spam, deceptive practices, and scams. Playlists, additional policies, child safety, thumbnails, nudity and sexual content, suicide and self-harm, vulgar language.
Hate speech.
Hate speech is not allowed on YouTube. We remove content promoting violence or hatred against individuals or groups based on any of the following attributes: age, caste, disability, ethnicity, gender identity and expression, nationality, race, immigration, station, religion, sex or gender, sexual orientation, victims of a major violent event and their kin, veteran status. If you're posting content, don't post content on YouTube if the purpose of that is to do one or more of the following: encourage violence against individuals or groups based on any of the attributes noted above. Neither of the two YouTubers were making content like this. Now, hate speech is encouraging violence and harassing or bullying somebody, okay? Misgendering somebody is not a form of harassment or bullying. And I know that a lot of YouTubers are transgender and do agree that repeatedly misgendering somebody when he is asked to be referred to by different pronouns is harassment. But from their perspective, I understand that it's very frustrating to be referred to by pronouns that make you uncomfortable when you're just trying to work, because it kind of prevents you from functioning. I don't think people should be forced to use the preferred pronouns of somebody, but I think that if the trans or non-binary person says, I don't like it when you use the pronouns of my biological sex. These pronouns do actually hurt people, and it's not really up to you to say,
well, you should learn to not be hurt by the pronouns that you are.
It's just kind of more compassionate to maybe not gender the person at all if you feel compromised to refer to the person as the sex he wants to be seen as.
Let me make this clear. Transphobic content is not permissible on YouTube.
But what exactly is transphobic content?
Well, something I want to talk about specifically is pronouns, because that is kind of a big deal. I personally don't think that it should be transphobic to use biological pronouns for someone, because determining that a trans woman counts as a woman is not a belief that everyone has. So basically, transphobia is a form of hate speech on YouTube, but what qualifies as transphobia is different for different people. Now let me get this straight. In a public environment, or interacting with other people on social media, I would refer to a transgender person by the pronouns he prefers to have, because it's a possibility that he's not out to other people. So finding out that he's actually trans could cause him to get harassed by other people, and I would have caused that by revealing the fact that he's trans by using the wrong pronouns. It's not just a given that transgender women are women and transgender men are men, and by using the preferred pronouns they want, they're kind of forcing me to comply with their narrative, because anyone who hears female pronouns automatically thinks the person we're talking about is female. That's just logic and grammar and semantics. But in a workplace or at school or group chat on social media is not the place to be talking about your political beliefs, because most likely they're going to clash with other people. But I think when we're talking about YouTube videos, I don't think it's fair to have to use the preferred pronouns of somebody, because that is kind of a violation of freedom of speech. I think we should treat everyone with respect. No lie, I don't think we should treat trans men super girly or trans men super manly, because in general, we don't treat people super manly or super feminine. Trans women are people assigned male at birth who assume the role as a woman to combat discomfort with male embodiment. People shouldn't be forced to see this as a woman.
Similarly,
Trans men are people who are assigned female at birth who assume the role as a man to combat discomfort with female embodiment. And when it comes to non-binary people, they're people who reject the trappings of gender because they're uncomfortable with both roles. We shouldn't be forced to see this as a third option to be gendered.
Avoid dead naming.
Dead naming is when a trans woman was assigned a male name at birth, or a trans man was assigned a female name at birth, and they have changed their name. I get very touchy about names because I don't want my name to be on this channel. I feel this sort of sense of security with people online not knowing my name. The thing about dead naming is it is a violation of privacy for no gain other than to highlight the masculinity of or femininity of a person who is clearly uncomfortable with his masculinity or femininity. Now, ultimately, these individuals should not be targeted or ridiculed simply for being transgender. They should be spoken about for a view they hold, or actions they can do, or content they promote, or themes they discuss. I don't think I'm against YouTubers discussing the public transition of a person and maybe questioning whether he is actually trans, because being transgender is a very easy way to get attention on social media.
Especially YouTube.
I can think of one example is Abigail Thorne of PhilosophyTube. When Abigail came out, the subscriber count literally doubled in January, the same month that the I Am Transgender video came out. Because before that, PhilosophyTube was just a copycat of ContraPoints, and now I think it is valuable to discuss the transition of a person, because
faking being trans,
which was originally an action that somebody would take so that they could simply wake up in the morning and not feel like dying, it's very easy for people to fake that simply to get content. And that's wrong to people who struggle with gender dysphoria and transition and don't get a lot of views. Viewers who are pulled into this narrative, who feel trans themselves, start watching this person's content and giving them a lot of support when it's really undeserved and unearned. Don't show pre-transition videos or images
if you can help it.
Okay, if you're gonna come at me for showing pre-transition photos of PhilosophyTube in my example, I got them from the videos that are still uploaded. Abigail Thorne is okay with them being online as long as you dissociate Abigail from who Abigail was before, how that is a person who's dead now. The pictures are not taboo. They're literally everywhere. One of the deplatformed YouTubers
wants to raise awareness about the trauma of transitioning so that youth don't jump on it. She would also show videos of detransitioners and even transitioners talking about the behind-the-scenes trauma of top surgery or bottom surgery, so definitely mostly on the masculine end since she identified as trans male for a while. It also seems to be that the majority of people transitioning are actually young girls. Now, as somebody who's dabbled in a little bit of the transgender community myself on social media, and not even as trolling, just like these are the people recommended to me. On one account, it's a lot of young trans masculine girls between 12 and 17, and they're very into anime and cosplay. And on the other side, you have young trans feminine boys who are in their late teens and early 20s, but have roughly the same energy and behavior as these young girls who are identifying as trans masculine.
The majority of these trans feminine boys fetishize being a lesbian, and the majority of these trans masculine girls fetishize being gay.
It's just a huge mess, and the culture surrounding trans kids on TikTok is just, it's kind of crazy. In Romans, Paul says, if possible, as much as is among you, live peaceably with all men. Repeatedly using the undesired pronouns of somebody is definitely very annoying. It could just cause strife overall. But the thing is, I don't think that means you can simply just comply to anybody who says,
I want to go by they, them pronouns.
Or I want to go by it itself pronouns.
remember when most trans YouTubers, even
Trans YouTubers on the left who are super hardcore socialist, Marxist, feminists.
they would be like,
Don't call people it.
well, now we have kids and young adults in 2022 and 2021 wanting to be called it.
And also Caesar and Clown Self and Bun Self.
I don't think the Bible is calling us to use the preferred pronouns or honestly refer to anybody by the way they necessarily want to be referred to as, in the name of making peace with them, because ultimately we are supposed to be Christ-like and be like Christ. In Psalms, inspired by God, David writes, "You formed me in my mother's womb." And David has a lot of other things to say, and this is the only one that I thought of off the top of my head. God created trans women to be men, because he had a plan for them as a boy and eventually as a man. Similar with trans men, he formed them biologically female to be women. And throughout the Bible, there are situations where people identify as something else, but are continuously referred to as who they are originally. David's wife, Bathsheba. King David, who killed the giant Goliath, when he grew up and became king, he took for himself a lot of wives, and one of them was Bathsheba, and the drama surrounding her was that he saw her bathing on the roof once, he invited her into his home, coerced her to sleep with him, and then she got pregnant, and David basically encouraged his head general Joab to put Uriah in a vulnerable position in war, ensuring that he would be killed. So David basically had Uriah killed. Throughout the rest of the Bible, and most times when Bathsheba was mentioned, even though she was technically David's wife, she would constantly be referred to as Uriah's wife because God saw the two as joined. So as a whole, the Bible refers to people as who God created them to be and who they are in God's eyes, not who they are in their own eyes. You should use the preferred name of somebody because there's nothing inherently wrong with changing your name. And I don't.
To put it very simply, no one can agree on what a man or woman is. Some people say a man or woman and is any adult human who identifies as a man or woman. But then you get situations where men say they're women so that they can get into women's prisons and then they rape and impregnate, they rape women. You have trans women who enter female sports and beat all the women because of the biological advantage. The advantage that biological males have over biological females is astronomically higher than some men who are just naturally more athletic than other men. And by the way, I'm very sorry for my British accent. I've been watching a little bit too much of a particular YouTuber.